Today we're talking about the top 5 benefits of living in South Korea. Number 1 is transportation. And here I'm including transportation on the list because public transportation specifically is relatively cheap. It's easy to use, it's efficient, it's clean, and it's safe. And I live in a suburb of Seoul, and I can easily walk outside my front door and get public transportation to anywhere in the country and probably arrive within about 5 or 6 hours.
No, really, I just walk through this lovely park here. And then I just round this corner here. Hold on. Quick check of the hair. Yep, still balding. And we head around this corner. Lovely day today. And there's the bus stop, straight ahead. Took 5 minutes.
So that's amazing. The infrastructure when it comes to transportation is incredible here. So that's a big benefit. Number 2 is the internet. You may have heard that some Scandinavian countries have fast internet, but I mean to tell you that here it's super fast, it's ubiquitous. I mean, you can get a connection almost anywhere in the country, and a lot of countries have limitations on the capacity, how much you can download, and there are not so many limitations here. Number 3 is the written language. So the written language in Korea is called Hangul, right? And it was made by this king called Sejong. And it's really easy. Okay, so when you learn how to read a foreign language, you have to do a 2-step process, right? You have to first be able to make the sound from the characters of that language, and then you have to understand the meaning of those sounds. The first part, now the second part is quite difficult in almost any language, but the first part in Korea is pretty easy to do. You can learn those characters. It's a logical, rational way of looking at it. So the vowel sounds, for example, are static. So if you look at English, the letter A, for example, I think has 16 sounds, unique sounds that you can make with it. But here, all the vowels make the same sound, and they always do. So that's really easy to use.
So here's an example of 모음자음. It's the putting the consonants and vowels together in Hangul. So, honey, what does that say?
It says Canada.
Canada? That sounds like a country.
Canada?
No, not Canada. That's not a real place.
Number 4 is safety. And I have to say that having lived altogether for about 10 years in South Korea, I've never really felt threatened in any of the dangerous areas of the biggest city in the country. I'm sure there are problems here and there, and that people have run-ins, especially after a bit of the drink. But in general, you can walk down the streets of Seoul 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and really have no concerns, really have no worries. Your wallet will be intact. Your body will be intact. People largely leave you alone. And if they don't, they just stare at you. So, I mean, it's a give and take. Would you rather be mugged or stared at? Now, number 5 is what I call the mirror effect. And this doesn't necessarily specifically apply to life in South Korea. It pretty much applies to living in any culture that holds up a mirror to your own experience, your own culture back home, wherever that may be. And in South Korea, for example, when I say number 1 is transportation, what I mean is, now I understand that America is a vast country. It's very difficult to set up that efficient of a network of trains, taxis, and buses throughout the entire country. However, if you go to New York City, you're going to see some old, dirty subway cars. In Korea, you won't. And they won't arrive late. So that's what I mean by the mirror effect. And basically, let's make a parallel. Let's say that you're from a family of physical abuse. And as a kid, you sort of only understand that the physical abuse is normal for you, and that other families probably also suffer from that same physical abuse because it's normalized for you. And I'm not trying to compare traveling with abuse, it's just making an example and saying, When you travel to other cultures, then you can contrast and compare so much more easily with your own experience growing up. And that's a huge benefit, right? Politically, economically, living and traveling abroad offers you, and that's why it's a huge benefit. That's why it's in the top 5 benefits. It offers you that ability to understand your own culture through the lenses of these other cultures.
Boring.